Good morning. I'd like to thank the Family Cafe for their leadership in highlighting authors with disabilities during the 2020 Virtual Cafe. I am honored to read one of my two books, Now What?, which is my story about coming of age with not one, but two spinal cord injuries. Anyone interested in finding them can locate them on Amazon. They are Now What? And the 88 Venture. I can be reached at the FSU College of Business website or my personal website at jrharding.com. I'd like to begin with the introduction of the book. I will never know what happened. I will never understand what forces were behind it. I do know that it happened in an instant and would have a lifelong effect. Perhaps I didn't take life seriously. Perhaps I was irresponsible. Perhaps I simply did not respect my many talents. What I do know is that Vistitude began. In hindsight, this voyage into the unknown would become a blessing in disguise. In time and through personal challenges, I would find my calling in life. My passion for our independence, our self-sufficiency, and our self-reliance was developed from constantly asking myself, now what? By setting little goals that could be and would be achieved. This is my story, the story as I recall it. Some of the names have been changed to protect the innocent and the not so innocent. So now, what are you waiting for? The prologue is done in my mother's voice. Let's hear her introduce the story. There's no prescription given to you by the doctor when leaving the hospital with a newborn baby. Most parents strive for their best. I had the privilege or the curse of raising not one, but two boys. Each day was a surprise. You bathe them, you feed them, you dress them, you send them out the door, and you pray they return home safely for you. In the case of JR, I was accustomed to emergency rooms, doctors, and nurses. Our first incident came at age 4 with a metal shard adhered to his cornea. At age 5, he showed up with a pussy willow stuck in his ear canal. At age 6, he hit a brick wall head on with his bicycle. I only recognized him because the clothes he was wearing were the same ones that I had taken out for him that morning. At age 7, a baseball bat collided with the left side of his mouth, and the first 14 stitches were sewn inside. At age 9, there was the dislocated elbow from jumping out of a swing set. By age 10, he and I had an understanding that he would get cleaned up, stitched up, or whatever was necessary before coming home. The fall of 1983 began well for the Harding family compared to the previous years. My husband was promoted to full colonel, and we were stationed at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. JR was beginning his senior year at Culver Military Academy. Not only was he going to graduate, albeit just, there was also talk of an athletic scholarship. JR's brother was starting his sophomore year at the Hill Academy. I fondly recall boasting, sharing with one of my friends at the Officers Club, that life was good. I had earned my battle stripes, like my husband, raising our boys. But the rumbling in the clouds above did not prepare me for the lightning bolt that was about to tear my perfect world apart. On the morning of September 26th, returning home from church, I ran into the house to quickly answer the phone. A chill ran up my spine, and I turned to my husband, overwhelmed with fear. We have to go to Chicago. We have to go to Chicago. Let's begin chapter 1. JR's story begins. Life was easy. I was popular, possessed multiple varsity letters, and considered by some to be good looking. Like a lot of 16-year-olds, I was self-centered, a bit of a troublemaker, but all in all, I had a kind heart, was loyal to my friends, and generally a well-meaning kid. The tragedy was like a scene out of one of those Greek mythologies, where the gods would toy with the mortal lives for their own entertainment. Without warning, one of the gods swooped into my life and said, "Try this." Friday night, September 24, 1983, was the night of the sixth game of the season for the Culver Eagle football team. We were 5-0 and playing the regional powerhouse, Heritage Christian, for the right to advance to the district state finals. I stood nearly 6'5" and weighed 220 pounds and was the starting offensive tackle for the second year in a row. The entire line stood over 6 feet and weighed anywhere from 200 to 235 pounds. We were fast, strong, and agile. We were playing our hearts out against Christian Heritage. It was the fourth quarter with 1 minute to go, 3rd and 6, and we were down by 3 points. We had 2 downs and 40 yards to go to win the game. The coach called an unpredictable play action pass to the tight end. The call surprised our team. We could run like the wind, but passing was not our strength. However, being good, obedient military cadets, we did as we were told, and despite not liking the call. On 3, the ball was hiked. The fake to the fullback went seamlessly. The tight end came across the middle, and the ball was thrown high, floating into the awaiting hands of the safety. Interception. Since they now had the ball and I could use my hands, I grabbed the linebacker, threw him to the side, and went for the kill. The safety's attempt to beat me to the corner failed. We connected, went airborne, and flew across the far sidelines. As I was getting up off of him, his teammates surrounded us. I didn't retreat. Instead, I made a competitive snarl. "Not on my watch." He looked right at me, smirked, and said, "You don't have the ball anymore." He was right. We were on defense with 30 seconds left. His team protected the ball, and just like that, the game was over. We would return to our locker room with our heads down and in a dismal silence. We had done everything Coach had asked. We played our hearts out, but victory was not to be ours, and we felt the agony of defeat. Even worse, each of us began to comprehend there would be no state playoffs. As we boarded the bus to return to campus, Coach authoritatively told us that the team meeting and post-game briefing would be 8 a.m. the following morning. I didn't listen to him, nor did I care about the meeting. After all, I was still grieving from the loss. I spent most of the ride home crying with one of my best friends, Mike. Mike understood on a personal level how painful losing an important game was, despite playing one's heart out. Given that the Eagles had not been to the playoffs in several seasons, we wanted to be the ones to take us. When 8 a.m. rolled around, I woke up with my eyes swollen and my ego crushed. The last thing I needed to do was to hear Coach point out that we missed this hit or didn't make that block. Instead, I wanted to redirect my energies, find something fresh to do to turn my mood around. At 16, there was no better way to do it than go on a date. I called my girlfriend Lori and made plans for the evening. She was excited because during football season, there generally wasn't a lot of time for a social life. The night began with dinner at the local burger shack on the corner of campus overlooking the lake. From there, we went to the auditorium for a Saturday night movie. Laurie and I sat in the back of the theater, dimly lit, holding hands and flirting without displaying too much PDA. I scored a lot of points by taking her to one of the hottest new releases, Flashdance. After the movie came to an end, it was a little after 10, and I walked Lori back to her dorm. Boarding schools had strict rules, and everyone had to be accounted for by 11 p.m. Because it was already 10:30, I kissed her goodnight and began to walk back to the other side of campus. It was a peaceful walk. I kept daydreaming about a wonderful evening and thinking about sometime in the future when I might get lucky. The football game and the loss were far from my mind. I was in a world unto myself, a dream state. Perhaps this explained why I did not see Jake, the middle linebacker, come out of the shadows. Right behind him was Hawk, the other offensive tackle. They were the co-captains of the football team and had been anointed positional power and prestige by the coaches. They had not been elected by the team. In truth, Jake and I had never been friends. We tolerated each other on the field. He was extremely pissed that I had blown off the team meeting earlier that morning. Immediately, he was in my face, pushing, shoving, shouting, screaming. How could you embarrass me like this? What kind of example are you sending to the underclassmen? And punched me in the mouth. My head switched gears. I didn't need this kind of bullshit. Certainly not this early in my senior year. It was stupid. It was adolescent nonsense. However, Jake and Hawk wanted to teach me a lesson. Despite my throbbing jaw, I had the courage to turn the other cheek and walk away. Maybe I was afraid. Maybe instinctively, I knew there was no value in a dispute and certainly no reason to fight. For whatever reason, that's the decision I made. Before I took my second step, Hawk had grabbed me from behind, lifted me into the air, and body slammed me hard onto the Indiana dirt. I landed awkwardly, unable to break my fall because I had no idea it was coming. Hawk took me by surprise. The impact of my body against the hard ground was devastating. My full body weight plus the force of the throw on the unforgiving ground crushed my spinal cord. My reflexes wouldn't work. I couldn't move. Jay kicked me. "Get up, you sissy," he said aggressively. "I can't," I told him with pain in my voice. They didn't believe me. Hawk and Jake tried to stand me up. My legs went out from under me, and they realized, along with me, in that fraction of a second, something had seriously gone wrong. Thank you for listening to the reading of Now What. I hope you enjoyed it, and feel free to reach out anytime. Thank you again, Family Cafe.